Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. And yes, it is wild out here today. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations such as this, giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world and the public consciousness. Get my pronunciation right. If it's your first time here, welcome. Hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. For a returning subscriber, 1,318, I think there are of you today. Welcome one and all. It's a pleasure and an honour to have you join me for this walk today and for every other walk you join me on. So thank you for joining me. Now, I've entitled this video, "And by their deeds shall you know them." Now, it's for those of you who have joined me for here before, I've spoken about the Bible before being a set of stories to convey a message, parables, if you will, to convey a message. And, you don't have to have a belief in that particular religion or that religious god or whatever, whatever way you want to structure that whole argument there. But, it is these lessons, these stories, these parables can serve us in our world, especially when we're going through crisis after crisis after crisis as we are now. A spiritual battle, if you will. I'll take that off a little bit, see if we can get through without getting too wet today. But I've entitled this video, "And by their deeds shall you know them." Now, that is taken from a Bible verse, Mathew 7:16, I think it is. I happen to have written it down on a piece of paper so I can quote it directly, because that's the basis of what we're going to talk about today, is that verse or that parable, that story, that message that's being conveyed through that Bible verse. So the actual verse for Mathew 7:16 is, "They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit will you recognize them? Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit." Okay, so that's the basis of where I'm going to begin today, because as we go through this, whatever we're going through right now, this spiritual battle, whatever words you want to put to that, as we go through this, it's important to understand the messages we're going to be getting from people, news organisations, politicians, people in the community who are purporting to be truthers or truth bearers, or whatever people are calling themselves. These messages are going to be coming to us, and you have to be able to discern. I won't say fact from fiction, because facts depend on your biases, I suppose. We'll get into that in just a second, but this occurred to me that as we go through this stage of what we're going through, that you have to be able to discern what people are trying to gain from what they're saying and what they're doing. By their deeds shall you know them. Now, people like to talk a lot, and talk is cheap at the end of the day. It's their deeds that you should watch, not what they say, watch what they do, right? Which is, I come out here and I talk about, what I say, and I try not to be a hypocrite in that, if I'm going to say something, that I usually try and follow that through to completion. Like if I'm talking about getting away from the science, I am the science, more likely political science than any other science. But I always try and, if I say something, I'm going to do it as well. It's not just, I'm not saying to other people, you should do this, and then do the exact opposite, like all the politicians in the media. Okay? Now, where do we begin with this little talk? Now, we're going through this crisis after crisis after crisis. I mean, it is. We're stumbling from one crisis to the next. We're constantly in a perpetual state of fear and anguish and worry and doubt over who's going to start the war first? Is it going to be, is it going to be America? Is it going to be Russia? Is it Israel or Iran or the Houthis? I mean, who's the new enemy today? Chinese, honestly, there's always got to be an enemy, right? Because if there's no enemy, who are we fighting against? Not the political powers and the media and the military-industrial complex. We're definitely not fighting against that. Why would we fight against that? Now, we see that people in politics talk a lot. People say I talk a lot as well, but I'm not going to go into politics because the system is broken, fundamentally broken at its very core. It's not broken, it's designed to be exactly what it is, a two-party nightmare which just breeds arguments and it doesn't breed solutions. It just breeds arguments and a waste of money on concocted garbage that suits no one except the people who are writing the legislation or creating the legislation in these political bodies we call governments. They're all controlled by corporate interests who are funding their political campaigns, much like the FTX did with laundering money that was through FTX back to the political campaigns of people that were sending money over to Ukraine. Okay? Now, we have, oh God, it's wild out here today. It's wet, it's rainy, it's windy. But could I avoid coming out today to do this talk? I'm back into work from this afternoon, so I've got to get it done today. Now, we hear a lot of people talk in political theatre, the political realm, about, it's a humanitarian crisis, but without ever going into how the humanitarian crisis started. Okay, so if we look at crises around the world, we've got a humanitarian crisis at the border in the US with tens of thousands of people crossing over every day. It's not just the US, it's all over Europe. In this country, we've got, economic migrants deciding, I don't want to stop at the country I've just passed through, that 15 different countries to get to that place where I want to go to, like the UK or America, obviously the most racist place in the world. More black people and Chinese people and brown people are wanting to go to the most racist country in the world for what? Is it racist, America? Yeah, they're just hunting down people of different colours and nationalities because that's how they are, right? Same in this country. So we've got a situation where we have the media is calling a journalist a journalist in Tucker Carlson. The media is calling for him to be banned from returning to America for wanting to interview Vladimir Putin. The EU, the European Union, that Nazi party, the Fourth Reich, that's the EU, has now sanctioned Tucker Carlson, a journalist, a journalist who wants to go and interview a world leader, has now been sanctioned by the EU, that Nazi organisation, like I said, because he wants to go and interview a world leader. Now, before we go too far down the road, okay. So I've had criticism from people for the way that I present information. I swear, I curse, I blaspheme. I'm clearly a work in progress. I am far from being, the saint. I have never claimed to be. I've told you my life story. I've done the most amazing, stupid, incredible things in my life. It's been a crazy ride. I've done everything wrong. Alcohol, sex, drugs, rock and roll, the whole shebang. I've got most of it wrong. But now, after telling my story to the world for the last 3 years, people say, how can you possibly quote the Bible and have done all these things? Well, in the Bible, there's a story about a guy called Jesus, and he was upset with the money lenders changing money in what they were calling the Lord's house, the church. And what did he do? He went and tipped over the tables. He got angry and pissed off and started throwing shit around because of the way that these money lenders, these money changers, these bankers were treating people and just the harm that they were causing. So he lost his shit, turned over the tables. But an average person who's out here walking in the forest by himself, talking to himself essentially, needs to be sainted in order to have an opinion. Especially if you're going to talk about the Bible, which I talk about being a parable, a set of stories to convey a message. Okay? By their deeds shall you know them. So it's easy to be a critic. And it's easy to criticize people who are out there, putting themselves out there and talking about what they see or what they feel or how things are. It's easy to be a couch critic rather than stating an opinion yourself, because if your opinion can be debunked, all the debunking going on by places like, what's that garbage called? Snopes! Snopes debunked it, it must mean it's true. And of course, Snopes is the all-powerful, all-knowing truth. That's the truth. Decided by whom? Now, okay, so we're talking about humanitarian crisis. You know, Tucker in Russia, being sanctioned, it's crazy. Rather than sort of trying to work out and talk to all the parties involved in the crisis that's going on all over the world at the moment, rather than talking to the parties and trying to find a way that we can get through this, nope. The only way we can sort this out is with war. And the same people pushing the wars are the same people who are invested in stocks of companies that are producing weapons of war. Can't make it up. You can't make it up. Now, I did a talk about the migrant crisis already. We've been there, I was criticised for that one as well, because obviously it went dark, and I'm fully aware of how dark it was. I was walking along in it. Now, we see these people talking about, we've got to help all these people, and at the same time saying in the next breath, or, today I was having an online debate on Twitter with someone. I'm not going to name him. If you want to go to my Twitter account, you can see who it is. We've had some tussles before in the past over communist policies like mask mandates and vax mandates, or non-vax, you know what I mean. They've changed the definition so many times, I don't even know what's real anymore. So we've had some debates before. We had a debate, and obviously it's easy to sit there on the sidelines and pick apart. I said nations in Africa rather than the continent of Africa. Oh, by golly, I got that so wrong, didn't I? Oh, that. Anyway, so we see people calling for, the border, for instance, in the US, the border, where you have tens of thousands of people streaming over every day, and people are saying, the Republicans don't want to close the border, and the other side saying, the Democrats don't want to close the border. But if we only go back a few years, everyone was denying there was a border crisis anyway. And then Trump was saying we need a border wall to have a secure border. Trump's a racist. Whilst at the same time, these people are defending the Ukrainian border and Israel's border that has a border wall around it. The same people are saying having borders is racist, are now saying we need to defend Israel's border and we need to defend Ukraine's border. Just let that bubble away in the background there for a second. So, at the end of the day, I mean, as we see all this stuff happen, I mean, we're talking about, I spoke about this a while ago, false flags with the Gulf of Tonkin that got the US into the Vietnam War. And I said back then, look, you're stationing ships and troops in the Middle East around the Red Sea and, off Yemen and, but it's to protect trade routes, Chris. You just don't understand the bigger picture. I was like, okay. So you're going to position people in places like those American troops that were killed in, where were they? Syria. But there's no troops in Syria, right? There's no war being declared in Syria, is there? Did I miss something? Maybe I missed that memo. The troops that were killed in Syria by Iran, or the Iranian-backed Houthis, who we've never heard of before until right now, and we need another enemy to point at and say, they're the bad ones, those ones over there. While conveniently, Russia invaded Ukraine, while conveniently leaving out that America, UK, France, all these other countries invaded Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, we can keep on going, Yemen, we could keep on going on and on and on and down the same road. But at the end of the day, the people in politics are controlled little puppets. They are. They're little puppets. And I saw a great thing where someone said they should wear a jacket like the NASCAR drivers with all their sponsors on it, all the companies that are sponsoring them. It's astounding to see that people are still in denial of what's right in front of their face. It's right in front of their face. Oh, what you're saying that what the Democrats are... No, I'm saying all the politicians are responsible. They're criminals. Here in this country, in the UK, our government, who no one voted for, they've changed prime ministers 3 times and we didn't vote for the other 2, Liz Truss and the current wet sponge called Rishi Sunak. Didn't vote for them. We didn't have elections for them. They just had an internal, party elections. Yes, it's important that the party gets to choose. The party is all powerful and is all. Yes. Now we are moving through this period where it is ultimate turmoil. Everything's going to be turned on its head. They're desperate for war, and they're going to use any excuse that they possibly can to shut things down. Now, this Tucker Carlson interview is coming out today. It's Thursday at 6 o'clock. And there's a lot of speculation as to what's going to happen. No one's even heard what the interview was about. No one has heard it. There's been a few people, obviously, the crew and Tucker himself, and obviously Vladimir Putin, perhaps a few of his staff, know what was said in the interview. But yet, the media, the politicians, the EU are sanctioning a journalist for wanting to speak to a world leader. By their deeds, shall you know them? Oh yes, but he's a friend of Trump and he's out there. I'm like, honestly. Let's look at the way that the media handles Zelensky with their interviews. Oh yes, you poor man, you're under siege. And do you have any time to take some time for yourself, maybe listen to some music? I mean, honestly, I saw a wonderful response. There was a guy yesterday on Twitter, I can't remember his name, I do apologise. I posted it around the place anyway. A journalist said, can you name a journalist who was even partially adversarial towards an interview with Zelensky? And Elon Musk responded and said, to be fair, it is kind of hard to be adversarial when you're giving someone a blowjob. Oh, brutal. It's brutalization. The media lies. The politicians lie. They're covering each other's ass. And yet we're here caught in the middle arguing with each other over nonsense. It's all lies. All of it. Everything. Oh, climate change is making all these people leave their home countries. Climate change. We have to billions more for climate change and border security. The new border bill, that national security border bill in the US, is being rammed through Congress at the moment, with tens of billions for Ukraine and tens of billions for Israel, of course, because we've got to stand with Israel for national security. Okay. Not sure what a country thousands of miles away has to do with national security, but much like Ukraine. But the border wall or the border issues that are right in everybody's face, well, we're not going to give so much money to that because it's not important for national security. In this country, Rishi Sunak and the Conservative government, look, they're all responsible. I don't care what party they can say. Oh, I'm independent. Oh, I'm in the Greens. It doesn't matter. They're all scum. The system corrupts because the system is designed to corrupt. So they sent 250 million, I think it was, 250 million pounds over to Rwanda to sort out people who are coming into this country illegally. Yes, illegal immigration. You can't just jump on a boat and... If I was to jump on a boat and go over to France without my passport and to say, oh, I'm here now, I'm an economic refugee or I'm a political refugee or whatever, what do you think would happen? I'd be flying back to here in about 10 seconds. Well, maybe just off to some island off, America, maybe Cuba, maybe Guantanamo or something. For being, a conspiracy theorist and a terrorist. By their deeds shall you know them. Everything that we see is deliberate. It's deliberate. It's 100% deliberate. Everything. The crisis in the banking industry. We see economic tensions between countries. We see sanctions being put in place on countries and people. Trump in America, like him or loathe him, all these lawsuits against him, they'd actually physically changed the law in the US. Just suspended that part of the law for 12 months so we can get this lawsuit by this woman who lost a lawsuit where she said that Trump raped her in a department store. She lost that, so went to a civil lawsuit when he said, well, I wouldn't do anything to that woman anyway. She's a bit rough and she's crazy, allegedly. That then sparks a civil case where she took him to court for defaming her by saying he wouldn't do that to her because she's not his type. That's what that lawsuit was about, and she was awarded $83 million for that. Oh, but it's not lawfare, Chris. They're not using law to try and stop a presidential candidate who is clearly leading in all the polls. That would never happen. They're talking about re-raiding Trump's house again for more documents that they say they didn't find in the first place. And the latest case where the lawsuit said that Trump doesn't have presidential clearance once he leaves office. So if he's performed illegal acts whilst in office, once he leaves office, he can be taken to court for that. So why is Tony Blair still walking around free with the illegal invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq under his watch? When Trump doesn't have presidential immunity, surely no one else does, right? Like Barack Obama bombing people and torturing people, waterboarding people. Is that what that means? When I come out here to do these talks, I always say to you, I don't want you to believe me. I'm not talking the truth, I'm talking my perspective. So there's perception and there's perspective. Perception is, you have perspective, which is from your perspective. So it's your life, the way that you have lived your life and the things that you've come into contact with in your life gives you a worldview that is X based on how you view the world, based on what you've come into contact with, the decisions you've made, the things that have happened to you, where you've been, all those kind of things play into your perception of a situation. So if you have 10 people all witnessing the same event, they will all perceive it slightly differently based on the way that they see the world. Perception, right? And then you have perspective, which is the ability to see things from another angle. And that's what I try to offer here, is everyone has their own perception, so we see the world the way that we see it. All I'm offering is a different perspective. So I'm offering a different way of looking at it. So I'm not saying this is the truth. What I'm saying to you is it's a different perspective. And if we're able to take a step back from ourselves, widen our viewpoint, and be able to take on another perspective of the same situation, then perhaps we can come to a understanding, or a better, a more enlightened viewpoint of events based on a wider perspective rather than just your perception. Now, as we move through this time of upheaval and things breaking down and the world being crazier than it ever has been, or in my life anyway, all I'm saying to you, the whole basis of this talk, what I'm talking about today, is to look at the actions that people are taking, what they're saying, and are those actions based in good faith, or are they based in financial gain, or are they based in political manipulation to get re-elected in elections that are supposed to be coming up this year? Supposed to be. Look at it through the things that you're seeing, the things that you're hearing, the things that you're experiencing through those glasses of, you know, what is this about? What is this for? What's to gain? Who are these people? What do they gain from it? What they're saying and what they're doing, and then make a decision about how you feel about actions that are taking place based on that. Because it's easy to talk, it's quite another thing to act, and then when you do act, what's promoting that act? What's prompting that action that you're taking? Is it an action that is going to benefit just you, or benefit people or the world in a greater, for the greater good? We need to lock down the world for the greater good. Now, everything I've said here today, I mean, it's a lot of touching this and touching that. It's not really a clear, concise argument, but just to say the events that are taking place, and it's going to get crazier. The fear point is going to ramp up to the point where even the most steadfast will question what we're being told in their belief systems, because it is going to be so prevalent and rampant in every aspect of our lives. I mean, every aspect: financial, medical, science, everything is going to be touched by the events that are going to be coming out. Religion, our belief systems, everything is going to be questioned in this period that we're going through, because this is what the period of awakening is, realizing that everything that we've been told throughout our entire lives is lies. Everything. And where do we go from there? Well, that's up to what we do next. So on that note, go out into the world, do good, be good. You can change the world with the way that you see things, the way that you talk, the way that you think, the way that you interact with people, and the information that you're sharing, your perspective or your your perception, that influences people around you, and what you do by their deeds show you know them. So go out into the world and do that. Do good and be good. But most important of all, look after yourself, look after each other, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Ciao for now.